Hey everybody. Syncing up here. Looks like I'm on. Syncing everything up. So one more second. Yeah. Okay, so I'm good on my end. Hi everybody. Monica Guzman coming to you live another week, Monday through Friday, close to 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time as possible. It just, you guys, you understand. People on the right understand. Like, we do stuff, but we're also balancing our families, and we're balancing work, and we're balancing not activism, but at least working to communicate with each other any way that we can in order to push back against what's happening to this country. So I think I'm going to use Mondays as recap days, and I'm going to set the tone for the week and maybe talk a little bit about stuff that happened over the weekend. And this week I'm going to practice not bopping around so much. I have noticed that people, when they stream, even television, right, they do not move around. And I think when you're streaming on YouTube, it's even more important not to make any sudden moves. So I guess I have to find a pose that I like and stick to it. So that should be interesting. We'll see how it goes, because you can see my hair is already sliding forward. And when I saw, again, we went out to eat, and the places that we go to tend to have large screens. The ones that MLB, the NFL insist on including in their ratings numbers. I feel really bad for Nielsen. I want to talk a little bit about that. I want to try to finish my other thought first and then skip over to something else. But when we went out to eat, again, we go out to places that usually have huge screens. And Katie Nolan, not only did her hair not move, I realized that she didn't move. She sat in the same pose. Now, given they have commercial breaks, so it's a different animal, as opposed to someone like myself who is streaming nonstop for an hour to 2, sometimes 3 hours. But it'll be fine. It's fine. I'll figure it out for myself. It's a good, all of this is just good learning opportunities. Not, it's like, can someone who's never experienced something tell someone else, give an opinion to someone else on that topic? Like, Stefan Molyneux used to argue that, I believe it was Jane Eyre, who never married, and I believe she never became a mom, yet she was able to write about relationships. And, so how much of the American population, not the illegal immigrant population, how much of the American population is no longer becoming parents, right? And so I get it. Before I became a parent, I was the person who was like, please don't sit me next to a family. Please don't sit me next to screaming children. Please don't sit me next to or in front of the kid who's going to kick my seat. And even today, I'm still a little bit like that. And I can tell you that if the child you get is like the equivalent of the lottery. I hit the jackpot. And I'm reminded of this because I'm a mom who takes my kid everywhere I go. I don't do babysitters. I don't say, oh, I want to go party, and I leave my kid with whomever. I don't do stuff like that. I'm a mom 24/7. And I look at it as, you know what? On a legal basis, it's 18 years. And 18 years out of possibly a life of 80 to 100 years, it's a drop in the bucket. It's not a big deal. It's going to be fine. And when I'm out, I see the look in people's eyes. Like when we go places, they're like, oh, she's got a kid with her. And I understand it's because other people's kids are a challenge. And my kid is well behaved, comparatively speaking. Obviously, he has his moments. He hasn't reached the teenage moment yet of telling me that he hates me, but I've been preparing his whole life for that moment. And maybe we won't. I don't know, right? The teenage years are a challenge for teenagers, and I understand. And so I'm a parent. Am I going to take advice from non-parents? No, I'm not. I don't even take advice from parents, especially if I see their kids and I'm like, dude, your kid's hanging from the Raptors or whatever, right? Whatever that saying is. I don't even, and again, my circumstances are unique because of the way that I chose to parent my child. And I'm not talking about like I had an experience with a parent whom I was talking, and we were waiting for an art class for the kids to start, and we were just having a conversation, right? And she's like, oh, that was a great learning opportunity. And I was like, oh wow, people really do talk like that. And the other thing is, I tried timeouts with my kid and they did not work. I tried it once when he was like 3 years old and it did not work. He is a child who can entertain himself. He found like a piece of lint and he started playing with that. And I was like, yeah, I don't think that's how timeout's supposed to work. So I never did it again. So I don't even take advice from parents. My kid's pretty great. I'm very thankful. I feel like it's a milestone that needed to happen in my life in order to bring me to the present. I think without becoming a mom, I wouldn't have credibility to say a lot of the things that I say. And so it's just, trust me, I battled the path that I was supposed to be on my entire 20s. And I ended up in the spot that I feel like I was supposed to end up in. And I've gained so much wisdom, so much experience, so much knowledge. And I am passing it on to you guys. I'm passing on my perspective to you guys. I give you context. I show you charts. I have credibility on my side. I have substance on my side. And it doesn't come from a place of malice. The BLM propaganda in the sports world it was just too much. I just wanted to watch Cowherd talk sports. I didn't tune into Cowherd for the BLM propaganda or for his Marxist points of views. And same thing with Joy. You know, Joy is is an interesting person in the sports world, but she's very much pro-African. And obviously, I can't criticize her for it, but I have a choice, and my choice was to stop watching Cowherd, therefore stop watching Joy Taylor. And so we'll see what happens with everything. As far as my ability to put stuff together that acts as an alternative to all of the propaganda, to the gambling, to the degeneracy, I'm going to tell you, if I succeed, dudes who play for us, no tattoos, no bling, no piercings. I understand that guys, single guys especially, do stuff, but we're going to expect you to self-police yourselves. The more self-restraint you practice, I will know that you have a higher IQ. So, right, the difference between Africans and Americans, Africans and Asians, IQ, self-restraint. I will know that the guys that practice the most self-restraint within reason are my high IQ guys, and I know that you're special. So I'm telling you right now, no tattoos unless you served in the military. That's my exception. No tattoos, no bling. Christy Mathewson didn't wear bling. I don't even think Babe Ruth wore bling. Obviously, Ty Cobb didn't wear bling. Walter Johnson. So obviously, Cy Young did not wear bling. Who am I leaving out? Honus Wagner did not wear bling. Joe DiMaggio, I don't believe wore bling. Yogi Berra, I believe, did not wear bling. So we're following the American baseball tradition. We're not following the MLB standard. That's their thing. Enjoy. If people who enjoy it, you're more than welcome to stick with them. But the goal is to provide an alternative to all of that. Okay, so Recap Monday. Let's call it Recap Monday, setting the tone Monday. Setting the tone for the week Monday. So I have up for you this fine Monday morning that's starting off already with some sun. But the weather's a-changing, which I personally welcome, as you probably already know if you watched any of last week's streams. I have to keep reminding Americans that you, or at least your ancestors, were a result of 300 years of attrition. There were no nerds between the Pilgrims landing on what would become American soil and American involvement in World War I. There were no nerds. The nerds died off. The nerds fell off. There was attrition during these almost 300 years. New England winters, bears, the Wild Wild West, pneumonia. The weak fell off. And that's why Americans saw A.G. Spalding, Cap Anson, Ty Cobb, Babe Ruth. Those men were a culmination of 300 years of attrition of the weakest among them. Unfortunately, World War I hit, and what happened was it stopped the continuation of those alpha genes within the American population. And then World War II decimated whatever was left. In addition, the survivors of World War II were hit with PTSD. Marriages started to fail because these men had experienced some very atrocious things. They killed. So you've got World War II veterans, the beginning of PTSD. And then that's why, like, I can't remember the actress's name, but that's why you hear a lot of these horror stories in homes of religion from the 1960s, right? That's where like these really horrible things started. I remember I spoke to a woman several years ago, just randomly. She told me about her family and the horrible things that happened. That's where the thing about uncles raping started, right? The sexual revolution, post World War II, PTSD. And I mean, if we had the ability to talk to people pre-World War I, did we hear those kinds of stories coming from religious homes? My guess is no. This is a post-World War II sexual revolution, 1960s phenomenon. It's not American per se, right? It's a result of these horrible things that happened to America. Did America need to get involved in World War I? I mean, I guess. Did they need to get involved in World War II? I guess. Let me point out that the atomic bomb was built by a Jew, by the way. So the horrible things, a lot of it comes from the Jewish population, the Jewish culture, such as attempting to normalize abortion. It's just a different culture. You guys, especially like a Jim Brotard like Gabe Kapler, you don't get to tell us that things need to change. Your culture is degenerate at best. Like, you guys are just different culture. So let's talk a little bit more about the effects of World War I on the American population. So you've got wonderful Clint Eastwood, right? 91 years old. He remembers the Depression. Like, whoa. He bagged groceries for minimum wage and he made something of himself. I respect Clint Eastwood with all his faults. And obviously he probably doesn't think that they're faults. He is a man's man, right? Like, when he gets interviewed, he's unapologetic, right? He's just who he is. You either accept him or you don't. But the thing about Clint Eastwood is he's the last of his kind. When God finally decides to take Clint Eastwood from us, there's nobody to fill his shoes. I mean, not even close. This is like, there's nobody in Mexico to fill Vicente Fernandez's shoes. And it is ironic, and this is why I bring up, even alphas have a difficult time passing on their alpha genes to their children. Clint Eastwood has several sons. Vicente Fernandez has several sons, yet none of them have been able to pick up the mantle from their dads. And it's tragic. It's a reality. That's why we also have to cast a wide net. But we're not capturing the weakest among us. We're not capturing the nerds. We have to capture the males with alpha potential and help. We have to figure out how to nurture them in order for them to become to reach their true potential, right? Their alpha potential. And so I paid my ticket, as Clint Eastwood says. I paid my ticket and we went to see Cry Macho when it released on Friday. And so the preview before the preview that I saw gave the impression to me that the movie was going to be a little bit more violent. And so I've watched a lot of Clint Eastwood movies. I haven't watched all of them, but I've watched several. And among my favorites, I mean, I love Fistful of Dollars and Unforgiven. I watched Bridges of Madison County, because I wanted to see how Clint Eastwood does romance. And all of his movies have drama, but Bridges of Madison County is specifically a romance-based movie, right? It's not a rom-com. It's a dramatic romance. And obviously Meryl Streep brought a lot to that movie. Like, two actors who can say a lot without saying anything, Clint Eastwood and Meryl Streep for sure. That was a spectacular pairing for that type of movie. So, because in the past I've watched, I used to watch Lifetime, and then they became African and degenerate. And so I was like, okay, not anymore. Then I discovered Hallmark, and now they're becoming Jewish, degenerate. And so I had a service where I could watch all their stuff, and I cut that off sometime last year. Probably going on 2 years at this point. And a lot of their actors, first of all, Hallmark casts homosexuals in their leading heterosexual male roles. So I'm like, okay. And then some of the straight guys that they cast in their leading male role are very beta. They act very beta. There's nothing alpha about them. And so I'm like, okay, man, how did Clint Eastwood do romantic drama? And that's why I watched Bridges of Madison County. And you still feel the love that Clint Eastwood's character has for Meryl Streep's character, but he's not a beta about it. He's still an alpha. He's still a man in that role. And so I was a little bit surprised that Cry Macho was such a mix. There was no shootout scene the way there's a shootout scene in Gran Torino, one of my favorite Clint Eastwood movies. And obviously Trouble with the Curve, there is no violence in that movie. But this is his modern version of a Western. And I loved it. Okay, I will admit, when I go to the movies, I think I've cried during action movies too. But I am a total crier. I cried during this movie when... is it too soon for spoilers? I mean, a lot of people have already reviewed this movie. Something that I'll go ahead and promote for free. So we all know that HBO Max has a contract with Warner Brothers. So Warner Brothers releases their movies in theaters and for 30 days to HBO Max subscribers at no additional cost. You just need to have the no ad plan. So I went to see Clint Eastwood's movie. Again, I knew I was going to pay my ticket because it's Clint Eastwood. I support Clint Eastwood. And later on during the day, I received the promo email from HBO Max letting me know that their ad-free plan is being offered for a few days at 50% off. So anybody who wants to check out HBO Max, I don't know if it's the offer is specific to me, because I received tons of promos, and some of them are specific to me and some of them are like for everybody. So I don't know if you want to watch Cry Macho from the comfort of your home. Maybe that offer is available to you from HBO Max. I personally go to the theater, watch it. Obviously, we're still under these mandates. And It all depends on where you live. I can tell you that the theater that I went to, everybody was not wearing their mask. So I just do your thing, right? Do your thing. And one of the reasons why I enjoy Clint Eastwood movies so much and why he still represents America is because he doesn't go all in on the CGI. These are movies. The horses are real, the animals are real, the people are real, the scenes are real. I've seen those mountains where he filmed. I was like, right on. I've seen those mountains where he filmed. It's beautiful scenery. So if you look, we've all got 2 hours that we can fill with this wonderful movie. If you go to the theater early in the day, you can, especially during the week, you can get your matinee price. If you don't want to, I mean, theater prices are insane. But this movie's worth the price of admission. I read Nick Nolte's review of this movie. I think Nick Nolte enjoyed The Mule more than he enjoyed Cry Macho. It was surprising for me because I've tried to find the book, and when I looked for the book, it wasn't available digitally yet. I think you can find it digitally now. But as someone, I went into it blind. I hadn't read the book. I tried to read synopsis of the book to get an idea, but it still wasn't super clear what this movie was going to be about. And then obviously when they adapt books to movies, the director or the screenwriters have creative freedom to turn it into their thing, right? And so, but Clint Eastwood consistently works with the same team, so you kind of know what you're going to get, which is an outstanding movie every single time. I mean, Gran Torino, Trouble with the Curve, Unforgiven. I have not watched Richard Jewell yet. I watched Sully. I watched... because Clint Eastwood basically releases a movie every year, right? Or every year and a half, somewhere around there. But so this movie, it's beautiful. And what are we going to do when we don't have Clint Eastwood around to help our sons figure out how to be men? Especially guys who have no father figures in their life. Because that's what Gran Torino was, right? Gran Torino was Clint Eastwood helping this kid become a man. And Clint Eastwood does it again in Cry Macho, helps the kid figure out how to become a man. What are we going to do? And it's the same thing for the Mexican population. The youth can look at Vicente Fernandez, who came from poverty, grew up in a ranch environment. You see it. You see Vicente Fernandez exudes alpha because of the way he grew up. Nothing was handed to him. Even Juan Gabriel is the other one that products of their environment for sure. So Cry Macho has two elements. One is his character helps this young boy, teenager-ish, figure out how to become a man. And then there's Clint Eastwood finds love in this movie. And I was surprised. I've seen pictures of the woman, but for some reason, again, I went into this totally blind. And it was a pleasant surprise, but this movie felt like a farewell. And I don't know, hopefully it's not the end, but it felt like a farewell. And say it ain't so, Clint Eastwood. say it ain't so. So what did World War One and World War II do to America? It stopped the American alpha male dead in its tracks. Why is there a gap between Clint Eastwood and the generation of today? Because there's nothing in between Clint Eastwood and today's generation. Again, Clint Eastwood has several sons, but none of them are Clint. They've all got their own personality. They all took their own paths in life. The closest one is Scott, but even Scott, I feel like he still has a ways to go. Now, men don't really become men until about 35, 40. That's why, Cy Young, Ty Cobb, Honus Wagner, Walter Johnson, even Christy Mathewson. I'm going to put Babe Ruth to the side on this one, but no, let's put Babe Ruth into it. That's why these men were able to play until their 40s. Babe Ruth played 22 seasons. Christy Mathewson played the least with 17. But men don't truly mature until 35, 40. That's why you guys can spend your 20s figuring it out. Obtain your career, obtain a job, obtain money, a house, a vehicle, actively search for your spouse. I think I'm going to argue later on in future streams that you actually end up meeting your spouse in high school. And when I start talking about those kinds of themes, I'm going to argue that everything American has been shredded through television and movies. So I didn't realize how harmful television and fiction is to women. I didn't realize that they watch something and they say to themselves, oh, that could be me having an affair with the pool boy or whatever, right? And I think it's nonsense, this thing about people grow apart. I don't think it's true. I think you can grow together. Maybe in Jewish culture, they grow apart, but in American culture, people grew together. Cap Anson and his wife are a perfect example of that. So when A.G. Spalding had the White Stockings team, the very winning White Stockings team, followed around, the PI guy followed Cap Anson around for 3 days, and he realized that Cap Anson was not participating in the activities that the other 7 guys were participating in. And Cap Anson stated that in his book, that he was true to his wife. He didn't cheat on her. He loved her. I mean, I'm sure they had issues within their marriage. Cap Anson wasn't exactly Cap Anson was an alpha, right? And Cap Anson faced several challenges. It shows his wife's character that she stuck around for the long haul. She didn't give up on him. He took her basically around the world. He gave her a great life. She did not divorce him. I'm not going to comment on that, but his wife stuck around. She obviously loved him. They grew together. Now, the only counter argument you can make against that is that we're living longer. And people do get tired of each other, right? But at the same time, you realize that you can't live without each other. That's why some people don't divorce. They don't know how to live without their partner. And in this case, I don't mean homosexual partner. I obviously mean hetero partner, right? Okay, Clint Eastwood, spread it around. But again, average people, definitely below average people, you need to accept that above average people vibrate on a different level. And Clint Eastwood I don't think Clint Eastwood assaulted any women. Uh, did he cheat on some of them? I think so. But from my understanding, Clint Eastwood funds all of the women who had his children without fail. So he's not like a deadbeat dad either, like some of y'all in the NBA, the NFL, and it's probably coming to MLB. I obviously don't know all the circumstances in Cody Bellinger's situation, but I think it's tragic what's happened to him. I hope that his family steps in to help raise that child, or take the lead, because Cody Bellinger is still a child himself, and that his child deserves a chance. So Cody Bellinger's family, use your Christianity to help raise that child. Don't let him falter into the degeneracy of MLB. So, Cry Macho, go watch it. I'm sure everybody's got 2 hours of free time. I'm sure you've got $10 lying around that you can part with to support this wonderful, wonderful man who has given American culture so much. We've got to figure out what comes after him. Okay, so let's go back to this chart. Okay, so over the weekend there was a rally that failed. Nobody really showed up to it, but we saw a lot of images of FBI agents attempting to look like Trump supporters, and they failed miserably. So many will argue that a civil war within America in 2021 is just not going to happen. There is a stream Thursday night, I believe 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Okay, so I don't know these guys I don't know their stuff very well. I've never watched them before, but I believe the name of the channel is Killstream, and you'll find them on the alternative video platforms to YouTube, because their content is censored on YouTube. So they're on the other stuff like Rumble and some, I don't know what, there's other stuff. What I do is I just follow the link from sources that I trust. And this debate is going to feature Ramsey Paul and Scott Greer. And let's see what happens. So something else that happened over the weekend was Bill from Fox LA I don't know if he's still with Fox LA. I'm not sure his role, but he works for Fox. And they had drones flying over one of the areas of the border between Mexico and Texas, and they had a drone, and there are Haitians flooding Texas as we speak. The Haitians are already being bussed around America, coming to a neighborhood near you. Okay, so many on the right, the leaderless right, we don't have leaders. I know there's a lot of you out there attempting to take that role, but you're failing. And let me explain that before I get into the other stuff. So I understand that Alex Jones, again, there was a coalition that got Trump elected. And it consisted of Alex Jones, Richard Spencer, Stefan Molyneux, Paul Joseph Watson, Cassandra Fairbanks, and then Jared, whom I have no idea. He got Milo. I don't know what happened to Jared. He was kicked off Twitter, and then he got on Gab, and then I believe he shut down that account too. So I don't know where Jared's at. But I'm going to argue that Jared had far more influence. He was like the ground influence. He was the one helping spread the word about the WikiLeaks documents and stuff like that. So what's happened since then is just a bunch of nerds on the right are trying to take on the leadership role. And I will never follow a nerd, especially on the right wing, because you're all talk. You're all talk. You've been watching the border get flooded with South Americans, now Haitians, and you sit there in front of your computers and you do nothing. If the right had leaders, there would have been pushback against what's happening at the border already on a citizen level. The alphas among us, which apparently I don't think there are any, would have caused a ruckus. And I understand that maybe the only way to turn this thing around is, if you guys can figure out how to turn this stuff around without shedding blood, outstanding. But we have to be realistic about it, right? I've thought about it a lot. And how do you stop the stampede that's coming over the border? I don't know how you do it without violence, because you've got people who know that America's great. They're coming from their shithole countries of Haiti and others. And I don't know. It's like, we can wait it out for sure. We can wait it out. There's a few ways to go about this, but what are you going to do when the Haitian moves next door? What are you going to do when the Afghani moves next door? What are you going to do when terrorist attacks, single terrorist acts start occurring in Oklahoma again, or Nebraska, or Arkansas, or Idaho, or Montana? What are you going to do? What are you going to do? So, given that nothing is being done, is why I know that there's just a bunch of nerds identifying with the right, trying to lead us. So, Ramsey Paul's and Scott Greer's discussion on Thursday, 6 p.m., I believe on Killstream, is going to be very interesting. I look forward to hearing what you guys have to say, but to deny that there to deny a civil war, the possibility of a civil war on American soil, you are wrong there. It's already happening. I don't want to post these pictures up because I don't know if these are copyrighted, but we all saw the image of the FBI agents. Like, what the fuck were they wearing, right? But I didn't notice, but other people pointed out that they were wearing the same glasses, they were wearing the same watch. One guy forgot to take off his dress socks. Those shorts, are guys really wearing that? Like, in the USA? What the fuck? Like, it always blows my mind when men or males wear clothes tighter than what I wear. Like, whoa. Like, those were like legging shorts. But I have to point out to you guys that they were all white. They were all white. I understand that the Mexicans are an easy target. I understand that illegal immigrants are the easy target, but that's what I'm saying. That's my criticism against Alex Jones. If you can target the Mexicans, and it's not even the Mexicans crossing over anymore, right? It's Haitians and South Americans, the Venezuelans, the what's the other country that fell over there more recently? Just all those guys, right? All those countries that socialism failed, and now they're trying to figure out where to get their next meal. So I understand, but you guys know that people are opening the door for them. And no one's stopping them either. There's nobody at the border forming a human chain to stop them from crossing the border. There's nobody. So that's why as far as I'm concerned, the right is leaderless. Bunch of nerds trying to exercise their authoritarian tendencies. You're just a bunch of nerds, okay? We have no leaders on the right. Larry Elder was not going to be the solution for California. Personally, I would have preferred that one of those guys who put up that sign for Trump on the 405, I would have preferred one of those guys run for governor, because at least they showed some action. One of those guys run for office, run for governor of California. What is it, in 2022? They already showed way more action than a libertarian Larry Elder in California. One of you guys should run. That's where I'm at on that. And libertarians are a joke too. You guys are druggies, degenerates on the right, where it's like your Dave Rubins and whatever. We're not going to move forward with that. We're just not. It's just not going to happen. Scott Adams, pro pot because he's sick. He needs pot for himself, so he's a selfish bastard. Who gives a shit what's happening to the kids smoking pot in the back of their classrooms with their makeshift pen or whatever? Fuck you. All right? Fuck you. Your lot in life is a chronic disease that requires pot. I don't know what to tell you, man. And again, where's your love for Americans when you're being selfish like that? Like I told you guys, I went to the doctor because I needed to find out. The thing that I was feeling wasn't going away. It was a few months and it never got worse, but it never went away. So I finally went to the doctor because I needed to know. Am I on the path to this is it, or what's going on, right? And so I do not have a chronic illness. I do not have cancer. Doesn't run in my family. But I can tell you that if it did, I would make some decisions. And it wouldn't be a selfish decision that has a negative impact on society. I would accept what came my way. When I first felt what I was feeling, again, it was around my vital organs. And I'm like, dude, we're in the middle of a pandemic. If it turns out I need some sort of transplant, how do I even go about that, right? And for 24 hours, I freaked out. I was like, damn, this could be it. But I made peace with it, and I saw the silver lining in it. I wasn't selfish. I wasn't selfish about it. And then it didn't go away, so I finally went to the doctor. And everything's fine. I could live a very long life. I could get into my 90s, possibly hundreds. It just depends, right? And so, but you selfish, sick nerds that are having a negative impact on society, you're only here because the nanny state exists. You're only here because Jews are riddled with chronic illnesses. And I mean, stuff like breast cancer, that's a result of them mixing with Americans. That's why I'm going to argue that's why you shouldn't have children outside of your race. There's so much mixing of blood types right now. There's so much mixing of DNA. There's so much mixing of illnesses that it's going to get to the point where there's stuff that will not be curable, and it stems from the Jews. All right, and they know this. They know this. They haven't shut me down yet because they know I'm speaking from facts. I'm not coming at them from I'm not coming at them just I'm not pulling stuff out of the sky, right? These are facts, and they know this. That's the only reason why I'm still talking in this manner. And I think they also realize that I can move on to other platforms and speak the same stuff, probably to a wider audience too. I don't know how some of you are getting this stuff, but I'm impressed. I am impressed at some people's dedication to me. I'm really impressed. I'm not going to be flattered about it. I'm also not going to be scared, but I'm impressed. I'm very impressed. I'm very impressed. But anyways, so let's move on a little bit, because I'm already approaching an hour. I'm already approaching an hour. So recap Monday. Okay, so let's go back to the FBI agents. Let me give you some statistics. So according to the census, the American population, the American white population, has dwindled down to 58%. Okay, there is a civil war, and it is happening among whites. Those FBI agents all looked white to me. They also look like your Bernie bros, your Marxist Bernie bros. That is as civil war as it gets. And I'm going to tell you something. You're losing. You're losing to the Bernie bros. You're losing to the Marxist among you. If the American white population stands at 58%, I'm going to argue that half of that is Marxist. Or they hate themselves for being white. They're your Bernie bros, you're Marxist, you're in professional sports, you're Joe Bucks who argue for this fraction of the population that's offended by the American flag and by flyovers at sports games. You're Joe Bucks in professional sports, and he is far from the only one. He is far from the only white in professional sports that argues for the tiny fraction of the population that is offended by the American flag and traditional flyovers that happen at professional sports. Or the tiny fraction of the population offended by the singing of the American national anthem, which American baseball started during World War I. Joe Buck is white as snow, but he's a Marxist. He's not white as snow. Walker Bueller's white as snow. Young kid, went to college, all in on the analytics, all in on MLB, total Marxist. That's the future of this country if it continues in this direction. They're white. So there is a civil war happening, and it's occurring among the white population. And given that this is your country, Jews, Marxists, Africans, obviously some Latinos in on it because they've been told that they can gain. And in reality, you're just going to be the first to get eaten. I mean, there is a civil war. And you're wrong. You're wrong if you don't think it's occurring. And you're on the losing side of it too. The Bernie bros are winning. The FBI is made up of Bernie bros, right? Marxist Bernie bros. And it blows my mind that how prepared they are to jail their own. This wouldn't have happened before World War I. And I don't even think it would have happened before World War II. but it's happening in 2021 after these significant events happened to this country. Me, I'm here to be a friend to the American cause. To the American cause, because it benefits me. It's my duty as a citizen of this country who has had the opportunity to enjoy everything it offers. It's just my duty. And I have the intelligence to talk about it, to explain it, to offer facts. So this is my contribution, even though I'm a woman, even though I'm Mexican by blood, because I know a healthy America benefits Mexico. I mean, something that I'm curious about, and maybe someone like V Dare knows way more about this than I do. Who isn't letting Mexico shut down its border? I have an idea who it is. But that's also suspect, right? Who isn't letting Mexico shut down its border to all of these Haitians, to all of the South Americans that walk in their caravans? Who is it? I have an idea, but I haven't researched it enough to say it. But maybe V Dare knows more about it than I do. Okay, so I'm setting the tone for the week. So let me move into the baseball stuff. So last week I covered the top 20 categories. And I was trying to figure out what made the Hall of Fame first 5 special. Why did the writers vote those specific men in? Obviously Babe Ruth, because Babe Ruth put the Yankees on the map, but he saved baseball at a time when it started to falter because A.G. Spalding passed away in 1915, I believe. I think it's 1915. So A.G. Spalding had already retired from baseball, but he remained as he gave advice, or they sought his opinion, right? And so you've got that gap between A.G. Spalding overseeing the sport and Babe Ruth. So Babe Ruth didn't happen on his own. He got discovered by I don't know what you call them, but the guy that used to oversee the kids at this orphanage religious school, right? But you know, that's obviously not enough, right? Obviously Babe Ruth made an impression, but that somebody needed to pick him up. Enter the Yankees ownership from 1922. So let's go from 1922 to 1964. So I keep talking about there's 2 different Yankees organizations. There's the Steinbrenner era, which is currently still going on, and then there's what came before them. So Jacob Rupert was inducted into the American Baseball Hall of Fame, rightly so. He merits a spot among the greats. I mean, he should be in the same hall as Babe Ruth. The baseball player that he managed to, I mean, he saw something that's very impressive, that he went and he got Babe Ruth. So Jacob Rupert was the sole owner of the New York Yankees from 1922 through 1939, and then he had children. So he brought them on, and they obtained ownership from 1939 through 1945. In that time span, of 1922 through 1945, the New York Yankees garnered 10 World Series championships. That's pretty good. From 1945 through 1964, you had 2 new owners. I believe Jacob Rupert's Ayers sold the team and they got picked up by Larry. And then thereafter, it got picked up by Dan and Dale. So from 1945 through 1964, the New York Yankees organization garnered another 10 championships. Not bad, right? Then enter George Steinbrenner. So I don't have an opinion on George Steinbrenner. I know he passed away. I know he was very flamboyant. I know he caused a ruckus in MLB. I know he did some shady stuff. But I don't have an opinion because I don't remember him. I remember the current Steinbrenner ownership, the one that acquired 26 steroid users from 1995 through 2008. 14 position players, 14 pitchers, 12 position players that are known steroid users. Who knows how many more have gone through the Yankees organization from 2008 through 2021, given that the Steinbrenners are still there, and then you've got Cashman still there. So you've got championships in the Steinbrenner era, but these are steroid era championships. Again, so from 1996 through 2000, those are 4 championships, right? But you've also got Clemens, Pettit, Kevin Brown, Jason Giambi, Chuck Knobloch. I remember that name, but I don't remember what he did. Canseco went through the Yankees organization. Gary Sheffield. Who else do I know? I mean, if I don't know who they are, then they did not make an impact. Like Derek Jeter, I didn't know who he was. Have I told the story of how I even know who A-Rod is? That's going to push me into 2 hours. Can you guys handle that? I don't really know any of these other guys. Okay, but that's through 2008. These are steroid era. Under the Steinbrenner ownership. They had 1977, 1978. And those 2 years are still questionable because that's when free agency kicked in or started to kick in, and that's why they sell Reggie Jackson as something to write home about, even though he's the strikeout king, which is that's not where you want to be. You don't want to be the best at striking out. That's very embarrassing. But MLB standards, right? Okay, so I figured out how to mute this, but I'm not coughing, so you guys will be okay with me drinking water, right? So this is what I mean when I talk about the New York Yankees have had 2 eras. Whatever happens with them this season happens. It's all fake and engineered. Like, there's no reason to get upset about it anyways. It's all fake. MLB's fake, and it's been fake for a long time. Within that fakeness, I do believe that the San Francisco Giant championships are legit. I think Mad Bum's legit. Once replay kicked in, I think stuff definitely went sideways. There's no reason why hitters should be able to hit Mad Bum. They weren't able to hit Walter Johnson. There's no reason why batters should be able to hit Mad Bum. And I think Mad Bum is doing his best. I believe he's pitching more innings. I guess he had an injury or something. Regardless, I know to me, Mad Bum's legit until proven otherwise. So this is what I mean when I talk about the 2 eras of the Yankees organization. So I'm setting the tone for the week. this week I will be talking about seasonal average salary. So, because it was different back then. It was different during the Cy Young era, right? Nobody got, or the guys rarely received multi-year contracts. It was during the off season, they would receive a letter. The letter would tell them, we want you to come back. This is what we want to pay you. And it was up to the player to decide if he accepted the salary and he wanted to go back. And Cy Young usually did. Same thing with Ty Cobb. I'm not sure. I haven't looked up when did the multi-year contracts begin, because that's going to give me a better. I can form my opinion more informed with more information. And that's going to make a difference. So I'm not 100% sure when the multi-year contract started. I know that the free agency stuff started somewhere in the 70s. And that's just been a crock. That's been awful for baseball players. That's been awful for you guys, but you didn't stand up for yourselves. So, again, Michael Jordan and his crew gave Jerry Krause's pet a hard time. And they gave Krause a hard time. They stood their ground. MLB players, you just fucking rolled over and played dead. So embarrassing. So fucking embarrassing. And I'm going to tell you something. Don't get all in a puff. If we get this stuff off the ground, we will not tolerate stupidity. We will not tolerate activism either. We're going to play baseball the way American baseball was played during the Cy Young era, during the Babe Ruth era, during the Joe DiMaggio, Yogi Berra era, pre-integration, pre-MLB. You want to be a baseball player? Let's go. Let's go, right? No activism, no bling, no tattoos, unless you served. No degeneracy. We expect you guys to self-police yourselves. I will know that guys who are able to, my high IQ guys are the ones that practice the most self-restraint on a personal level. So we'll see what happens, right? We'll see what happens. So let's just go into it then. So something I'm going to be talking about this week is the salary stuff. So I pulled this up from a Marxist, an economist Marxist. Can't remember his name off the top of my head. I do need to give him credit. I will add that. But the website's like ehsomething.net. He's some sort of economist. He's a professor. And he figured out the highest average salary per season. Now, I don't know when the multi-contracts kicked in. But for example, in 1922, Babe Ruth earned $52,000, and that was the highest average season salary. So for several years, Babe Ruth was the highest paid player by season. Now, we all know what Babe Ruth did. Babe Ruth earned every penny of his $52,000, of his $70,000, of his $80,000. And then obviously it came back down as he started to age. I mean, you've got to expect that, right? So what I added to this information that I pulled, and I do need to give credit to, was I added the World Series winner and the World Series runner-up. So you can see in 1922, when Babe Ruth was the highest paid player that season, the New York Yankees were the World Series runner-ups. And So something that I need to start doing is start combining timelines. Okay, so New York Giants, Christy Mathewson was no longer there, right? So Babe Ruth didn't play against Mathewson in this case. Mathewson had already retired. But you could see that these Giants were something to write home about. I mean, that's pretty good, right? World Series winners in 1922, runner-ups in 23, 24. Okay, and then they won again in 33. Oh, okay, so was Walter Johnson still playing with the Washington Senators at that point? I need to start combining my timelines. But you can see from this chart very clearly that Babe Ruth was worth every single penny. In 1932, when he garnered $75,000, the New York Yankees won. In 26, 27, 28, when Babe Ruth was the highest paid player, the Yankees garnered 2 more championships and a runner-up position. And then obviously 1923. We all know about 1923, right? So I'm setting the tone for the week. This is the kind of stuff that you can expect. Let's go ahead and preview. Let's start previewing the Willie Mays era. So a lot more information here. But you can see that Willie Mays was the highest paid player by seasonal average, 59 through 65. And I do not see any San Francisco championships, and I do not see any San Francisco runner-ups. Because so what I did was, when the highest season average player, I highlight them. So I highlighted them. So Mickey Mantle, 1962, is at $90,000. The New York Yankees were champions. So the Yankees got their money's worth. Having the highest paid season average player on their team paid off. Let's give it to Sandy Koufax here, 1966, $130,000. The Dodgers were the runner-ups. Okay, that's fine. But then you see Willie Mays goes back to being the top paid player by average season. 1967 through 1970, I do not see the San Francisco Giants as the World Series champions nor the World Series runner-ups. Ironically, when Mantle was the highest paid player that season, the San Francisco Giants were the runner-up. So you can see that my criticism launched in Willie Mays' direction is merited. But I'm not really launching the criticism at Willie Mays. It's the people behind Willie Mays. It's obviously the San Francisco ownership that decided to make Willie Mays the highest paid player for several seasons that deserves the criticism. But I mean, I believe Willie Mays was pretty into himself, like Derek Jeter, who was never the best at anything. It's an African thing, right? It's an African cultural thing to be full of yourself when you haven't earned it. And look, that's your culture, but you can't be shocked that people segregate themselves away from you, right? Like, again, I've watched videos of high school African basketball players elbow their white counterparts to the ground, like with one swift elbow. I mean, as a mom, do I want my kid playing with Africans? Not really. Not really. Because there's some serious violence happening that occurs around you guys. I love my kid more than anything else. So, nah. who else is interesting in this one? Oh, there is Hank Aaron. Mr. Compiler. Mr. Compiler himself. The original compiler, Hank Aaron. He was the highest paid player by average. 1975, 1976. He was with the Milwaukee Brewers at that time, and the Milwaukee Brewers were not World Series champions or World Series runner-ups. Then there's Mike Schmidt. Is Mike Schmidt the player who had acne and therefore he was given permission to grow his beard to cover up the scars? I don't know. I haven't, I spent the bulk of the last 2 years researching the history. I had to start from the beginning in order to get to the present. I needed to understand, right? And so I haven't researched a lot of the stuff in between. So, I don't know. Is that who Mike Schmidt was? Is he that guy, or was that somebody else? I don't know. So Nolan Ryan, whose career also I haven't researched, but I've heard a lot about him. I don't remember him playing. I just remember the lore that follows him, right? And so here you see he was the first $1 million player in 1980. At that time he was with Houston. Houston was not in the World Series nor the World Series runner-up. They weren't champions nor the runner-up. Okay, so let's get a little bit spicy. Let's go to the A-Rod era. So the Steinbrenner Yankees made steroids Alex Rodriguez the highest paid MLB player. He can argue that he's American, but he sure does act like a Dominican with them steroids. And technically, so this SF Gate article from February 10, 2008 doesn't take into account Alex Rodriguez, because Alex Rodriguez confessed to steroids after the fact. So Alex Rodriguez should be on that list, right? Because 2001 through 2003, he was with Texas. And then he moved over to the Yankees 2004 through 2013. You can see that neither Texas nor the Yankees were in the postseason, even though A-Rod was the highest paid player by average by season. I don't know how to say that correctly, but I hope you guys get the gist of it. So, there was only 2009, and I believe that was totally out of desperation, right? Like, it's kind of like what the Yankees are going through right now. They're getting desperate over there. They are getting so desperate. We'll see what the Steinbrenners do, right? It's their legacy. It's their money. It's their choices. The Steinbrenner who speaks when one of them speaks has stated that he's 100% all in on what Cashman does. It's their bet. They're sleeping in it. They're standing by their choices. So here you've got Mike Trout was the highest paid player 2018. The Angels, shockingly, did not show up in the postseason. Then you've got Kershaw 2016, the infamous 2017. The infamous 2017. Then you've got Greinke 2014. Oh, that is mad bum. That's mad bum. That is Mad Bum received text message from dad. It was painful. As an LA Dodger fan at that time, it was painful to watch Mad Bum be so great. But obviously now, leaving all that behind, I can admit that Mad Bum over Kershaw would be my choice. I would absolutely Mad Bum over Kershaw. So, taste of what's to come for this week. Setting the tone. I wish I could be your ray of sunshine. That's the job of a woman, right? To be your ray of sunshine. I wish I could be your ray of sunshine on a Monday, depending on where you are, afternoon, late morning. Alas, that is not my lot in life, to be your sunshine, your ray of sunshine. There are other women who can do that for you. It's not mine. It's not my lot in life. And I've accepted it, and that's what I'm saying. It's if you want to be like me, there's a lot of things that you have to accept. And I do it because I have the character for it. First, I think I'm awesome. I think I'm awesome. And I'm not a narcissist, but I do think I'm awesome. And so you've got to be stoic, you've got to be strong, you've got to be intelligent, you've got to prepare, you've got to balance a lot of things, you've got to come ready to play ball. Because I know that there are people out there hoping to tear me down because of all of this. And if that moment ever arrives, I have to be ready for it. I have to be ready for it, right? And every woman is not built for this. You are built to be the ray of sunshine for your spouse. And some women are the ray of sunshine for more men. It's just not me. I don't believe that's my lot in life. And I'm not apologizing for it. Obviously, I'm looking for my magnum opus. I didn't name it, so I'm not sure where it's stored. Ta-da! So this is something I will be focusing on also this week. We're going to really go through this. So again, I started this from a blank slate. I saw what Andrew Friedman and Farhan Zaidi did to the LA Dodgers in 2017 during the World Series, and I was like, what the fuck? What the fuck is going on? And I went into that because of what they did with Curtis Granderson. Again, they're Jewish. Curtis Granderson is a mediocre African. They were trying to engineer the new Kirk Gibson. Plain and simple. If you ask them, I don't even think they'll deny it at this point. If they deny it, they're liars. I even believe that the Marxist MLB media knew very well what was happening. I mean, they know what Andrew Friedman and company are doing with Dave Roberts. You know, former mediocre MLB player, engineering him to look like he's special with all the analytics. Bob Guerin at his side. Please. Come on, man. All right. So I set out from all this from a blank slate. I was like, okay, what did they do in the beginning? And how did they define greatness? How did they decide to vote in these 5 men into the Hall of Fame? And then I was like, okay, so is every champion a Hall of Famer? And I found out that no, they are not. You've got to be special. You've got to contribute. You have to have a national impact, of which Derek Jeter did not have. I mean, something I'll be discussing is it's really super, super, super cute when a mediocre player was really important to your team, even though your team only won one championship out of how many tries. It's super cute. It's also super cute when the MLB Marxist media has their favorite players like Mike Trout, who never make an impact in the postseason. Now he's 30 years old. Whoa, fall off the cliff. Them's are the rules, right? Super cute when the MLB Marxist media picks out their favorites. Super, super cute. And so there's a look, every person can have their favorite players. I have my favorite players. Mad Bum, Zach Greinke, David John LeMahieu. But those guys have garnered championships. They've garnered titles. In Mad Bum's case, MVP, Sportsman of the Year, on a national level. Well deserved. It's different. It's different than saying, oh, well, my engineered algorithm tells me that this guy is pretty great. No. That's your bias. That's your favoritism. That's you being a Marxist and all that stuff. So I will dissect this in detail. And this helps me determine future Hall of Famers. Which there are not going to be many of. I mean, if the MLB Marxist media really wrote in Scherzer, first of all, he's a cheater. I want to know how many of those strikeouts came through cheating. I'm very curious when Scherzer started cheating, when Verlander, his former teammate, started cheating. Garrett Cole might fall off the cliff, so he might not be an issue in the future. Felix Hernandez is a narrative cheater. Adam Wainwright is a narrative cheater. Corey Kluber probably already ran into his karma. I don't know how much he can salvage his career. Who else? That's all for now. Those are the narratives, right? They're the narratives. So let's end on a happy note. Go see this movie. Support Clint Eastwood. Oh, what I was going to say earlier was, there are all these global homo parades, right? And on Twitter, maybe 2 years ago, people were like, okay, if there was a hetero parade, who would lead it? And everyone was like, Clint Eastwood. Clint Eastwood. Clint Eastwood is the mascot of the hetero Americans. Not the Marxists, not the nerds. Men. American men. Clint Eastwood. Go watch this movie, you guys. You're not going to... It's good. I just don't know if it's too soon for spoilers. But they get everything into the movie that... They get the main points of the book, I believe, into the movie. And you see a lot of beautiful New Mexico scenery. You see a lot of... if this is Clint Eastwood's farewell, he did a really outstanding job giving advice to young men on how to be men. It's beautiful. You see Macho cry. I thought that was just beautiful. And you see Clint Eastwood's character fall in love. And I was not expecting that. I was really surprised by that. I was like, whoa, this is like a love story too. I was shocked. And pay your tickets, support Clint Eastwood. Otherwise, check if you qualify for that discounted HBO Max offer. It's not going to last long, so you've got to do it sooner rather than later. So this week, I am covering salary. Did these teams get the bang for their buck? With Babe Ruth, they did. I'm going to talk about the cross-check test that I developed last year for Hall of Fame voting. I will, if for some reason I run out of content, I will start talking about front office stuff. Using the Peter O'Malley Dodgers as the example, moving into the Andrew Friedman, Stan Kasten, HIV Magic Johnson era. To show you guys the evolution of the MLB front office. And then that'll take me into the culture where I base it off of Molly Knight's tweet where she naively tweeted out that, you know what? Oh, those Dodgers, they need to change their vetting process. You know, and the reason why I use that tone toward Molly Knight is because she's an insider. Someone like myself, I'm a total outsider, right? I've done all this on my own time. And even I'm not that naive. It's one thing to be ignorant when you don't know, but once you know, what do you do with it, right? Molly Knight's an insider. She wrote a book. She was in their locker room. I mean, obviously she was in the locker room during the Ned Colletti era, but she knows a lot more about the evolution of MLB, its culture, its front offices. You can't play ignorant with that type of access, right? Like, I'm sure there's still a lot of stuff that I don't know about some of these guys. But my main concern at this time is, did they assault women and did they cheat? So, you know, I don't think Greinke's going around assaulting women. Neither is Mad Bum. Neither is LeMahieu. I hope they're not cheating either. I mean, Zach Greinke throws 66-mile-an-hour fastballs, right? Like, or whatever. I don't think he's cheating. I don't think... man, Mad Bum, I hope you did not participate in that. You've got to give me a sign if you guys cheated so that I can start licking my wounds in private. If you guys did. So go watch this movie. It's feel good. It's great. It's Clint Eastwood, the hetero mascot. I will see you guys back here as close to 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time as possible. I don't believe I will go beyond 1 hour every day this week. I believe that the content, unless I add stories and stuff and do my tangents and whatnot, but I don't think I should go beyond an hour. So thank you again. If you make it this far, I appreciate it. We'll see how all this pans out. We'll see. We just have to wait and see. So see you guys tomorrow live. Thank you once again. Have a great Monday. There is no reason to be afraid of Monday. Get out of the rat race if you believe in that Monday scaries nonsense or Sunday scaries nonsense. All right. See you guys tomorrow. Thank you again.